Welcome back. Episode 21.
What's up, shitbags? Welcome back. Like Brennan said, episode 21, double digits after the last one, right, Brennan?
That was double digits. Going strong.
21 episodes halfway through this year. So halfway through the first time of the 2 episodes a month. I know we've been enjoying it. It's we talked about it last year. It was kind of taking a long time between episodes. We were ready to keep recording. So I think we found the sweet spot. It's been pretty fun, pretty cool. Get to double our guests, double the people we talk to, and
double the knowledge. Ride.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, thank you. Like we always say, thank you to Taylor's Hins, Jobtown, Crew First Culture. Couldn't be here without them. Just can't wait to keep working on everything. We got Jeremy going to be coming back up next. Next is Jobtown, then Jeremy. We're already starting the lineup for next year, so we'll have that announced and released pretty soon, which will be a great time. We got some pretty sweet guests coming up, but we got the famous one that we refer to in our bio, the nickname we've coined him.
All due respect.
The one with all due respect, the one and only Captain Shitbag. So we'll take no more time in introducing our very own captain and bring him in here, Corey Braunschweig.
What's up, Cap?
How's it going?
What's up, fellas? What's going on?
Good. How are you?
The one and only, huh?
The one and only Captain Shitbag, right?
Appreciate it.
With all due respect.
I don't know if you
heard that.
You
got 30 seconds. If you guys don't know that rule, you can say whatever you want. 30 seconds before or after, you have to say with all due respect. Then you can whatever you want.
You can do anything about it.
Yeah, perfect. Easy. Well, Cap, thank you so much for coming on. We're excited to let you share some knowledge that we unfortunately get to hear every shift. But first off, for those that don't know about you, why don't you give a little introduction about yourself? Give a little bio.
There's not a whole lot to tell. Again, I'm a captain with the Beaver Dam Fire Department. Been on the fire department for 18 years now, since 2006. Got hired on full time in 2012. Before that, I was a paid on call, and then close to 2020, got promoted to lieutenant, and then a couple years later to captain, and then I got put on as a training officer. Been doing that ever since. So. Besides that, just kind of working with a great shift of guys and gals, and that's really about it.
Awesome.
Oh yeah.
Well, I will let you kind of keep talking about yourself a little here. How did you end up in the fire service?
It was kind of a lot of dumb luck, honestly. So back in 2003, I was in the Army Reserve or Army National Guard. Got deployed over to Iraq with a bunch of buddies. Came back, really didn't know what I wanted to do. I think before I went overseas, I was going to become a cop. That was kind of my go-to job that I think I was kind of wanting to do, but I wasn't 100% sure. Like I said, came back, just was doing a lot of hanging out, enjoying my time back from overseas. And I had a buddy whose dad was on Beaver Dam. His dad was a paid on call, and he's like, "Hey, Beaver Dam's hiring," and I'm like, "Okay, what are they hiring for?" They're hiring for firefighters. He's like, "You should try it." And I'm like, "All right, sure, I'll give it a shot." And so I went and applied and got hired. And then as time went on, I just kind of got me hooked. And I said, this is probably something I want to do, full time. So I kind of started taking it a little bit more serious, got all the fire courses that I needed to take initially. And at that time, Beaver Dam was still just EMT or AEMT level service. So I said, I'll go take EMT class and I'll get my EMT, get hired. And then I got my EMT, and then the Beaver Dam decided, hey, we're going to go paramedic. And I was like,
you got the shit out of the stick.
Now
like the rest of us.
Now I really got to, do that to be serious. So I ended up taking paramedic, and I guess right after that, applied and eventually ended up getting hired. So, I mean, like I said, it was just a lot of, firefighter was always kind of one of the things I kind of had in the back of my head that I wanted to do when I was younger. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I don't really have any family that was in the fire service. My uncle was a volunteer years before that with a small town. But other than that, it was kind of one of those things where, it was kind of always in the back of my head. And when someone kind of just threw it out there, and I gave it a try, and I loved it from the start, and been doing it ever since.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So cool. So right when you got on, you can either as a POC or when you're full time. What did you do as a new member to earn the respect of your crew?
I guess it was kind of my generational thing, but I was always brought up, when you get hired, you're trying to earn the respect of other people. You kind of give them the respect. You kind of maybe some of this kind of reverts back to the Army military thing, but you kind of do what you're told. You got to show that respect to your senior members. A lot of your senior guys, they've seen things more than you've probably seen. So, you can ask questions, but do a lot of listening. Show them that you're interested, that you're listening to them. Follow up with your listening. Actually do what they suggest. Obviously, if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. But I think just showing them that that you're actually showing that respect to them kind of really goes a long way. And that was kind of a lot of the things I did. I tried to stay quiet and try to listen. I was a brand new person. I didn't know shit. So a lot of it was just opening up and just let the people talk. Let them tell you what they know and apply it and see if it works for you. If it doesn't, then you learn and keep passing it on. So
awesome. Now in your role as a captain, or even when you were a lieutenant, or just even the guy who's been on for a little bit, what do you think brings a crew together the best?
I guess just maintaining your relationship with them. I know a lot of people, you talk about spending time outside of the department. That's a huge thing. Sometimes you don't get to do it as much as you want. Just maintaining that contact with them outside of work. And then just while you're at work, I think it's huge just to spend a lot of time. That downtime at night is big. Go throw some boards, or play some cornhole or whatever you do. Or, I know we have a lot of fun doing that. Or just, going out training together and just, while we're out training, maybe just take a little bit of a breather and just start talking to each other. Ask questions, how your people are doing, ask questions about your family, kids, how things are going outside of the job. I think that goes a long way to really show, your members that you guys care about each other. And I think that builds that camaraderie with everybody, so you just got to take that time. I know, our job is one of them that we have to take everything, serious when we're on the job. But you got to make that time, both during and off to really decompress and build those relationships with each other. So I think those are, just it's key to building your relationship, and then you're going to be able to work, even better together. So.
Absolutely. Sure. Yeah. I know like you said, we like to do our bags or our movie nights, and that's something that a lot of us on shift and Brennan and I, we have referenced on here, I know, and there, but like you as a captain, you got a lot more responsibilities, but you still find that time, especially in the downtime, to actually, be with us. Right. And you kind of, which we're gonna ask you about it in a little bit later, but you kind of, take your tasks or the jobs you have to do at maybe a less opportune time for you. Some people would be sleeping, especially with you. You're freaking up all night. But like the stuff that you make those little sacrifices, and they're very noticed. But it's so that you can build those relationships. Be with us, throwing bags, playing basketball, working out, or watching movies.
Well, it's one of those things. Like in bigger departments, people that do these type of other jobs, they have that time to do it. With us. Being a smaller department, as company officers, I think spending as much time with your guys as you can during the day and during the downtime as much as you can is huge, and it goes a long way. Yeah, sometimes at night it kind of sucks, kind of doing some of that stuff up at night, but in my mind, it's 100% worth it. Going out with you guys, doing some training, going to do some search stuff, or going to throw some holes, or whatever we do, just to have that time together and make sure not only that. That everybody else is on track on where they are with their skills and just everything, but that, myself included, I'm not perfect. My skills get rusty if I stop doing something, or, just with you guys going off to different conferences and coming back and sharing ideas, I'm not going to get that if I'm stuck in my office, 24/7. So, like I said, yeah, it sucks, being 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night and I'm trying to get a couple things done, but, sometimes as an officer or senior guy, sometimes you got to kind of make those little bit of sacrifices. In the end, they're worth it. So,
yeah, I think coming together as a crew, training together, you can know everyone's little limitations. So, as you as a captain, you can be like, hey, you're better at that. You go do that. While the other person's like, I'm not too good at that, but they're good at something else.
Absolutely.
Kind of putting people where they belong.
Yeah. And that kind of goes into when we go on calls. And, like I said, I can go into a call. I can just kind of tell guys, hey, this is what we want to accomplish. And a lot of times you guys are in the back already talking, formulate who's going to do what. And I know you guys are your strong suits. I know your guys' weak suits. I know my strong and weak, and I trust you guys to make those and make the right decisions. And once we get off the truck, it's to work. And, I've never seen any issues from it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you, like Brendan said, you're out there with us. You get to learn it on the training ground, which is important. That's why you got to do it. Next question, the last kind of general question that we've asked everybody this year that brings some good conversation, is just why are we here? I
think it's pretty simple. It's for number one, it's going to be all the citizens that we serve. It's like everybody says, once you make that decision to do this job, it's not about you really anymore. It's more about the people that we're serving. When they call us, they're expecting a professional firefighter or responder that's there to do their job and help them out. And then in addition to that, just as far as us, it's about the other members that we're working with too. We're there to help our citizens, but we're also there to make sure that that we're watching each other, we're there for each other. Be it, making sure that we're trained up, making sure that if we got any questions that we're addressing them, and then, kind of pushing it further, just watching, just each other as far as like, our physical or mental health too, this is one of those jobs that, there's a lot of shit that we got to deal with. And like I said, the citizens kind of just think, well, that's what they're there to do, they know how to deal with this. This is their profession. But yeah, it in a sense it is. But on the other sense, look at the stuff that we got to see every day. Some people process it differently. So it's important that we're keeping an eye on each other too. So I think that's kind of a twofold question. Like I said, it's number one is going to be our citizens, and then ourselves as well that we have to kind of keep an eye on. So
yeah, I like that answer. It's a good answer.
Absolutely. Next, like we said, we're going to talk about the sacrifice a little bit and get into that. What sacrifices do you think people need to be prepared for before you, quote unquote, take the test and promote?
Talking like promote as far as just taking the job and stuff.
Yeah, and lieutenant, captain, just everybody wants to take the test. Everybody wants to get that rank, those bars, those bugles. But what sacrifices should you really be prepared for?
Well, a lot of you really got to look out that instead of, not that you're not always looking out for just yourself, but now you're kind of expected to, you're in charge of, you got a set number of crew of guys. It's more about kind of you got to make sure that you're looking at what's best for them. You take an officer, there's a lot of things that you may bounce, you may get mad about or frustrated about, but as an officer, some of those things are things that unfortunately you get the rank, you got to deal with some of that stuff. There's going to be a lot of times you're going to probably be doing things off duty, getting a lot of calls or emails sitting at home. You got to try to balance it then too with your family, because it can be kind of hard on your family, knowing that you're doing a lot of stuff for the fire department, and you don't want to change a lot of things back on your home front. That's going to affect your kids and your wives and moms and dads even too. Because like you said, taking those extra bars or bugles that can be it can be a pretty big change, and Sometimes if those that support you aren't ready for it, it can kind of put some stress on you. So, but no, I will say it's worth the hassle. Again, it's a job that can be stressful, but in the end, it's 100% worth it. I love being an officer. When I first joined, I was like, I'm going to be a firefighter, and that's all I'm going to do. I don't want to deal with any of that. I don't want to make hard decisions. But then once you start doing it, it's fun to be able to watch your firefighters grow. Fun to see the impact that you can have on them, and just the fun that you can actually have with this, and the changes that you can hopefully help instill. And yeah, the stresses I think are worth it, and they're not always fun, but you know, it is what it is.
Shit you gotta deal with.
Exactly.
Comes with territory.
Yeah, we have a lot of conversation. It's like when you want to change something, you kind of have to make that rank to change it. So like, especially for you, like training to be a captain, you have a lot more say than a firefighter does. So I think people like to promote or have to promote in these spots to make that change that the department needs.
Right.
So that's probably another thing that
Oh, definitely. Yeah, you definitely have. You're going to get a little extra. I don't want to say value out of your decision, but with the rank, you're going to get a little bit more of the ears kind of perking up, and
you get a little bit of a louder voice each time.
But then on the other hand, that's where, as you as an officer, you need to make sure that you're you can help push some of your firefighters' ideas as well. Like you said, we bounce ideas off each other all the time, and
absolutely,
we like to push it up. And not to say that people don't respect the lower ranks opinion and stuff, but if you get those extra bars, that certainly does have an influence on
a louder voice.
People will maybe listen at first and go, okay, well, that's not a bad idea, and then they may I may keep on filtering up and filtering up. So and that's another reason why you're there as an officer, to be for your guys, to kind of be maybe they're to help kind of push their voice a little more as well. So because like I said, like I said, when we get new guys on the department, I try to be an open mind with them. They have great ideas. I don't like it, back, how they used to be back in the day, you're probably close your mouth, shut up. Don't talk. So I don't think there's really much value out of that, really. So, because we have a lot of people that come with a lot of knowledge and a lot of ideas, and I love hearing it from them. So
yeah,
everyone has different experiences, and
learn
from all those experiences.
Yeah. Nowadays, those personal experiences can be even more than like the on the job, because like we've talked about quite a lot of times. There's a lot of people, myself included, Brennan for the most part too, like this younger generation, this is our first job. Back when, I'm sure when you started everything, you were part-time for 6 years before you went full-time. You had military experience, you did a little bit of like, handiwork and stuff. Like that's all extremely important stuff to come in. So you get maybe an older person that joins the fire service late, but they have all those other skills or these other things that they can bring. It's not just the fire service that, the probies that come in, even the kids right out of high school. I mean, that start going through, they've got something to learn. Maybe it's not the best way to stretch a hose line, but maybe it's, some other personal experience that does apply to the job.
Right. And how are you going to know what they have to offer if you don't listen? And that's the biggest thing, But like you said, everybody coming in always has something to offer.
Yeah. Listen first, then you can tell them to shut up. But then
exactly.
So. Awesome. So I mean, you talked about a little bit when you got the position, but where did you find your passion for training?
I think it came from when I first got hired on. There was a lot of different culture going on around the time. I think as years went on, after I had a handful of years on, we started getting more people in training. We started pushing training a lot more than what we used to. And I guess, no one realizing you don't know as much as you probably should, or what you like to know, kind of really pushed me to try to take a little bit more serious as far as some training. And as I started looking more into it and trying to figure out, how can I better myself, better other people, and continuing getting, especially when I started getting closer to that senior type person, knowing that I had people underneath me, it kind of really, I had to sit back for a second, kind of realize that, I need to maybe push myself a little bit more than what I had in the past. And that was a lot of it. I mean, then becoming, getting promoted to lieutenant and then officially having that leadership role said, you got, these guys are looking to you for training. You really gotta, you got to do something about that and make sure that what you're putting out is going to be worth it for them and just going to help develop them as well. And again, the training officer role, I was still a little hesitant on initially at that, but I guess taking it on and kind of really asking other department training officers, other officers questions on how they did things or looking things up, and bouncing ideas off people, I think that really helped kind of push me in that direction. And once I kind of started taking that on and, making lesson plans or just figuring out how I was going to train other people, it really it struck a chord with me. And I learned that I really did like it. And I kind of just kept going with it. So, but yeah.
Awesome.
It's a really, really eye-opening experience. I mean, we've had a lot of people. I know BJ talked about it a lot. And one of our guests for next year that we met when we were down in Georgia at MAFC, BJ's had a training awakening during training. He went to his first, I think it was his Fools was the first one he talked about. And you realize you don't know what you know. I mean, as soon as you join a department or something, you're in that department. If you're in that little funnel or that cone, whatever you want to call it, oh, this is easy. I can do this stuff. There's only one way to do all these things. When you find out there's 10, 15 ways to do things, it's really eye-opening. And then I'm not going to give his full story, but the guy we listened to are really excited for next year at MAFC. He talked about he had an actual call where his training failed him, and he was like, "There's got to be a better way." And though everybody in the service, especially people that either listen to our podcast or that we talk to or run into, at one point or another, you're going to have that training awakening moment where you realize, holy shit. I don't know everything. I need to increase my knowledge.
Yep. Oh, definitely. And like I said, when you bring other outside people into the department that have other ideas, or, like you said, you go on that call or whatever, and you totally fumble something up and you go, shit, I got to change something on training, or, you hear these other ideas, as far as, especially the last couple of years with the different options for, like searching and drags and all this stuff. And, unless you get that from other people or actually, search it out, you're not really doing yourself any justice by teaching the same old thing every time. And, or teaching out of date, tactics to people. So, yeah.
And it's so easy. You go, Brian.
Oh, you go.
It's so easy to get that kind of stuff nowadays. I love Chad's story when Chad came on about going to the what was it, Burger King, Brennan, or he was at the payphone putting quarters in there to call his dad who was on the job. Hey, how do I do this? How to do this? That's impressive for when he got on. That was cool. But now, Christ, we all got our phones. You got YouTube. Even if you don't go to a training, you just do a Google search of this tactic, and you can do reps on it and try it and figure out, okay, yeah, no, this is just for YouTube, or no, this is kind of legit.
Yeah. Well, and that's the biggest thing, because when I first got on, YouTube really wasn't big into it, and you really couldn't look up all this stuff. You kind of had to you had to rely on a lot of people either going to trainings or had known people that could train you to it. You didn't have YouTube to look up and go, hey, let's search victim drags, and find all these different methods. So, I mean, it is an advantage nowadays, but on the other hand, then like you said, you got to vet those sources out,
Yep.
There's hundreds of videos on search, hundreds of videos on drags with webbing, with dirty drags, all this stuff. And I mean, we could easily make a training on those things and just say, this is the way it is. And then, but if you don't actually try it out, how are you going to know it's going to work? You could watch those videos all day and then go do a course on it. And unless you actually tried it out, you could look like a fumbling buffoon in front of your guys doing something going, well, it worked on the video, So
Yeah.
I thought it was going
Right.
to work now.
You got the knowledge, but you don't have the experience to back it up.
Right.
Mhm.
And that's
Right.
what all this training stuff is. I mean, you can go to class and learn, like sit in a classroom and learn it, but if you don't do the reps and
Right.
you don't find your way to do it,
Yep.
you're going to be shit at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're
Because
going to look like an asshole.
even those methods that you learn in other classes, they may work for that department, but you bring it back and maybe they're not going to work so much for us.
Yep.
So,
Right.
but like you said, how are you going to know until you come back and you try it?
Right.
Mhm.
Then we have to
But
modify it to work with our department. I
Exactly.
think that's the coolest
Yep.
thing. I like going to all these outside classes and just
Yeah.
coming back and making our own version of it to
Yeah.
work with our department, which is cool.
No, yeah, you're right on top of it. That's all. Yeah, you guys bring ideas back, or whoever brings ideas back. We go, okay, well, let's try it out. And it didn't work so good. Well, how can we make it work for us?
Yeah.
And
Well,
usually we can find a way. Firefighters
Yeah.
are going to find a way to make
Yeah.
something work.
It takes some time, but we do find a way.
Exactly. So, yeah.
Awesome. Continuing with the topic of training and your position, what struggles do you face as a training captain?
I guess one of the biggest things I kind of had to struggle with was trying to develop a training program that's going to, keep people intrigued and what's the word I'm looking for? Just keep them actively engaged. Coming up with different trainings every year, it's easy to say we're going to do something on hoses. It's trying to develop something that you're going to have, people don't come to the training. Okay, we're just going to pull a hose. We're going to go home and that's all we're going to do. They come and do the motions and they leave. So something to keep it interesting for them. And then, like the last couple of years, we formed an actual training bureau, and that's was one of the reasons for that was to kind of help formulate some of that training so you have more heads in the game. So I always felt like one person trying to come up with something, you're going to struggle because you don't have all the ideas, and like we said, when bringing people back from training, that can help kind of formulate some of the training ideas. So that's a huge one as training officer, is just to continuing making the training interesting and make it people, excited to come for that training. Because you're not going to have a train that's everyone's going to love all the time, but if you can keep them, wanting to come back so they can go, okay, well, are we going to do this? We're going to do search. How are we going to do? What are we going to be doing for that? We're just going to go in and do the motions, or are we going to actually put people in a position to think? So I guess that was one of the bigger struggles I had. And then I guess is just keeping them engaged, staying on top of everything as far as making sure people are meeting the
standard,
the expectations of what we expect, with standards and everything like that. So yeah.
I think it was, like you said, when we started the training bureau, and that's a lot of places, they have more than one person, usually one person's in charge of it and they have a core, a cadre, or whatever you want to call it. But I think that's extremely helpful because you bring in those experiences that we talked about. I mean, if you have 10 people sit through the exact same education, exact same training, all 10 people are probably going to pull something else out of it. Like they're going to have a unique experience. They're going to have a unique something that relates to maybe something they've already done, either on the job, personal life, whatever. Like they're going to latch on to certain things and bring their own unique look onto the same exact education and be able to expand on that in 10 different ways, however many different ways, which gives a great discussion being a part of them, and sets up really good conversation, really good trainings.
Right. Yeah. And it's, that's the benefit, yeah. So meeting with them, doing that is going to really help with that, and then that's going to hopefully offer us the ability to give our guys, the most realistic and most, the best training that we can give them. Cause, like I said, you want to make sure these guys stay engaged, because if they don't get engaged, they lose interest, and then you're not doing your job. So
another big thing is holding people to a standard.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have a standard within your department, then your training's all over the place, right? So having a set standard, we can only go off from that. So I always reference the building blocks. You start at that first building block is a standard. Then we can always learn the high tech shit, but we gotta start with the building block with standard.
Yep. Yep, exactly. So yeah, and that was one thing too, like we have our minimum standards, and we kind of kept talking with like Captain Yankee, years ago we talked about it. We said, well, let's change it from minimum to just department standards. Pull that minimum out of there. Like, these are our standards. I know you should have a minimum of what you have, but we kind of wanted to get that word out of there and just say, hey, these are department standards. These are what you should be expected to do. Yeah, they're minimum, but I don't know. It's just we just felt like pulling that word out of there just to make sure that people aren't saying, well, we're going to settle for, this is what we're settling for. Right. This is what we've established as this is what you're going to do. So
what do you think's the best way to enforce those standards? Because we've talked about it a couple times on the podcast, and where, like, as soon as you have your standards, if you don't have any enforcement of it, then whatever that lowest common denominator that's so you train for that lowest common denominator, but that becomes your new standard, right? If you set the bar up here, but people are sliding by right here and nothing's happening, your bar is down here. It's not where you want it to be.
And that's going to be something that's going to, that's something that's going to kind of fall to your company officers to enforce, to make sure that they're watching their guys. And, if they're not making that standard, they're going to, I don't know if you just have to pull them aside and identify what they're doing and see what we need to work on. For us, we do our annual standards every year, where you actually get evaluated and you can kind of see where you're at. But it really comes down to that company officer just identifying, what the problem is, and either pulling them aside or, another day working with them and saying, what's going on. It could be that they're just having issues with a certain skill that they need to work on. Maybe they're just too afraid to ask you about it. Especially in front of people. That was one thing like I've learned too, is that I've learned over the years is learning how to fail in front of people. If there's things I used to struggle with, when I was a younger firefighter, and I was like, well, I'm not going to do this in front of these other guys, because I don't want to have them see me totally screw something up. Then I'm going to look like an idiot. Well, that's great. You're not going to look like an idiot right away. But then when you get to the actual, emergency and you're on a call, you're expected to do something that you're struggling with. What's going to happen then? Yeah, you just did a disservice to your department members and to the citizens that you're serving. So, and I try to do that more, where especially training with the shift and stuff, going out there and we get done. Hey, what did we screw up on? And I'll try to be one of the first ones is to say, hey, I didn't do this right, didn't do that right. So I think that goes a long way with your guys too, and hopefully that'll help them kind of push it to where they're not afraid to ask questions, and if they're struggling with something. On the other hand, maybe you got to watch. It's like that mental fitness that you got to look out for too. Maybe they're just on that day having issues, or they're struggling with something from a past call or something going on at home. So it's just one of those things as a company officer, you really got to be watching for a lot of different things. So we're kind of getting off to the side from the standards things, but
that's right. We love
it just goes into, you got to, maybe you just got to put in the time to work with them. If you got a good shift, they're going to help out the guy or gal. But I think going along, identifying what's going on and, hopefully trying to figure out the root cause of it can kind of, go a long ways. So,
getting that, that failure is huge. I mean, we've talked about it before, the fire service saying after, and after fire at the after action report, which we don't do. And I like that, because like you said, you're usually the first one to speak up of what could have gone better and start that conversation and that atmosphere. Because otherwise you get the after action and it's the fire went out and nobody got hurt. And you got 5 different people going like, oh, I fucked up that hose line stretch, or man, I could not throw a ladder. But the person leading it's like, oh, everybody, great job. Go home and rest up. Thanks for coming out. And like, oh, okay. I guess that's fine. But like, you get someone that starts off saying, oh, I screwed up with this, but and yada yada. Then you're gonna have other people like, oh, wow, I screwed up too.
I love hearing that stuff. And you don't come, I've heard guys, you guys, we've talked, and I've heard, Brennan,
I'm the first one off the rig coming home from a fire. Like, yep, I really fucked up on that.
But
really fucked up that baseball swing. God.
But I think that's awesome though. I mean, you're self-evaluating yourself. You're identifying issues. If you come from a fire and you go, well, I fucking rocked it. someone goes, well, what happened to that hose line? Oh, don't worry about that. That wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
Coming off and I firmly believe if you can't find one or two things that you screwed up on, then maybe you need to find something else to do because there's times I come off a job where I go, well, I forgot this, I forgot this, I forgot this, I didn't do this.
Like,
shit.
Christ.
Yeah,
what did I do right? I don't know. But the fire went all right. Great.
Yeah, and nobody got hurt. Woo! We did a great job.
We kept the basement.
Allow yourself to make mistakes. Allow yourself to make mistakes on the training ground.
Right, exactly.
Identify those mistakes. That's the only way you're going to get better.
Push yourself to fail. We've had guys get frustrated at trainings and they screw something up, and I'm like, who cares? I mean, you got to care eventually, but you screw up there, that's great. I heard someone. Again. I don't remember where I heard it, but I heard someone, maybe it was on another podcast, they called it screwing up in training, like controlled failure. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that is an awesome phrase, to use. You're in a controlled setting, you're allowed to fail because that's the only way you're going to learn. Because you're going to remember that's going to be a mental thing in your head for the rest of your, your career. Like, okay, now I know on this next call, I'm not going to do this.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So,
but that embarrassment can help, quote unquote embarrassment can help lock that in, especially because human beings just hate to be embarrassed. So you screw up throwing a ladder in front of 10 people, but you were the one that stepped up and was like, okay, I'll do this. Like, I know I'm pretty rusty or whatever. Like, that's going to stick with you. And just because you're going to learn from it and you're not going to want to do it again.
Right. And it makes it easier to, once you start working with a great group of guys or gals, you got that good cohesive shift. I think that fear of failing in front of them starts to kind of diminish a little bit. Maybe not all the way, but you feel a little bit more comfortable saying, yeah, I fucked up. And they go, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I screwed up on this too. So, it makes it a lot easier, especially, as one of the senior people, when you can show your younger guys, it's okay to screw something up, and
just learn from it.
Call yourself out on it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You see a lot with like brand new people, or sometimes you even see with older ones, but like you got to finish the rep too. If you got someone who fails throwing the ladder, we keep saying that's a good example, or fails search, whatever it is, and like, this is stupid. That was stupid. That drill, whatever it is, it's not my fault. And they, go to the next one, or they won't do it. Like, get it right. Don't just God, it's stupid. It's whatever. I'm done. Like,
recalibrate and drive on. Keep moving. Finish it. Yeah, exactly. We'll talk about this. We'll talk about the mess up later.
Yeah,
that goes a long way when you show that you can kind of overcome some frustration and stuff. That's
example of this stuff. I kind of fucked up on a hose deploying hose I haven't done in a while. So we did some hose deployments. I was like, man, I really fucking suck at this. So every day I try to pull a line now. I was so focused on doing truck because our department we do everything. So it's a smaller department. We have to do everything. We have to know everything, or try to know everything. No way fucking possible we're gonna know everything. But I was so used to doing truck stuff. I got really good at truck stuff, but I lack pulling hose because like anyone can pull a hose. I had that mindset. I was like, well, then I actually did it with the crew, and I was like, man, I really fucking suck at this. So, and I had the realization I came to. I was like, I have to do this more. So now, pretty much every shift, I try to pull at least some line off the truck. If we do it in the morning check, or now we're starting to do it. Fire alarms is just another live rep. Been trying to take that time and just pull a line off. Get that training rep actually on a call. So.
Yeah, and then you doing that is causing the rest of the guys who want to get out there and do it. It's causing the shift to get out there and do it together. We talk while we do it. We give each other shit while we're doing it. So, and and
that's how we learn. Man.
Yeah, exactly. So,
well, Cap, our last kind of personalized question for you, as we introduced you and we said you're the one and only. And we've talked about it. We've talked about it on the podcast and everything. We know our saying of "don't be a shitbag," but we know that shitbag it has two meanings, especially on our shift. So, our question for you is, what does being a shitbag mean to you?
Well, with our shift, it kind of just turned into a habit of saying it. I don't remember which one of you two or whoever coined it, but
it was Brennan with the sticker. Brennan found the
Brennan with the
fire
sticker.
training, not sponsored sticker, and
Chad really likes my saying. Chief really likes it. So.
You slapped that on the fridge, and then the podcast came like a month later, and we were like, perfect.
There you go. Yeah, no, I think it's just I don't even know how to explain it. It's just one of those terms that we use in our shift just to kind of to razz each other, but we know, we're obviously we all know that we're kind of, messing with each other, and it's kind of almost like a term of endearment now to where we talk, and you can say that to me and I'll just be like, yep, I'm a shitbag. Doesn't bother me to the slightest that you getting called it from our shift. Obviously if we call each other that, we already all know that we're kind of just messing with each other. Because obviously if we did do something screw up, we're going to talk about it. That just calling that it's kind of a camaraderie type term that we use in our shift, and everybody pretty much knows it. So when the term comes out, it people don't get thin skins about it. They don't get offended by it. It actually you're almost kind of proud to get called a shitbag on our shift, in my opinion. So
it seems like tying it back to our last conversation, that's how most of our screw ups get talked about is after a fire or whatever. I know Brennan's fuck this. I know all of us. I was like, yep, I was a shitbag. I forgot to do this. I didn't it's for our shift. It really is that endearment, but that's because I think we know we aren't. We've talked about what it truly means, and the saying of our podcast is not don't be a shitbag because we like it. It's don't be a shitty human. Don't be a shitbag. Be someone be a good person. Come to work with a smile on your face. Enjoy being there. Be nice to other people. Don't have it out like shitbag. It is an insult, but for us, it's an endearment because we know we aren't. We are so confident that we aren't that we can use it as that, and I think that's the coolest parts about it. Which is why it's Captain Shitbag endearment, not Captain Shitbag insult.
It kind of goes back to that with all due respect too, thing. Like we talk to each other very, very, I don't know when to say derogatory, but we give each other a lot of shit. And I'm sure that's the same around, all over the fire service.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think that type of stuff, you keep the mood light. You mess with each other. I think it really forms that bond a little bit. It gets you closer to each other. Because if you can't give each other shit like that, in this type of job, then, you're
doing something wrong.
Right. It helps get us closer. It helps, alleviate some of the stress, especially, some of those high acuity calls that we got to go on. Or like you said, if you fuck something up on a call, hey, you're a shitbag, you're already laughing about it, you're like, all right, because
I'm buying ice cream tonight.
We're buying ice cream tonight. Yeah. So, but
that's awesome. Yeah, that's that kind of concludes all of our main question we got. Now we have our last two, our closing questions, where we got our question from our last guest, who was Garrett G. He got to share in your suffering of having both Brendan and I that he had to control, but he was the fire school instructor. You were the one that got stuck with us after it. So he said that you guys got some definitely shared suffering in that. But his question was, if you could go back in your career at one instance and change the trajectory of your career, when would it be and what would it be?
Damn, that's a good question. That's a deep one.
It's good.
Holy
yeah. He got you good.
God, I guess I'd almost say it'd be about the time when I got hired on full time. Being a paid on call, I did learn a lot of stuff. But being a paid on call, you're trying to juggle a lot of other things in your life and stuff. And it's probably not the same for everybody, but for me, that's kind of how it was. I didn't push trying to better myself at that point. But I think getting hired on, that full-time status and doing the job every day really kind of highlighted, I knew there was areas where I needed to probably work on better that I didn't. And it kind of goes back to that, because I didn't want to show that failure in front of other people or show that I didn't know something in front of others and, felt like it was going to let them down. And, I was expected to do this, but I really couldn't. So that, and I think at that point, if I would have known better, I would have told myself, hey, start doing more research, start looking at other, classes to take, go to different trainings, especially when you're younger and you can afford that opportunity. Because as you get older, it gets a little bit harder to kind of juggle all of that stuff. You think it's hard then, it's going to get a lot harder. So, but yeah, I think that would have been, the key time where I think I should, I would tell myself, hey, just, you may not want to do, push yourself to a certain level yet, or you're not going to, at that point I was just, like I said, I was like, I'm just going to be a regular firefighter. I'm just going to, do my job and I'll be fine, but, knowing kind of how I am now, I probably would have said, hey, be that firefighter that the younger firefighters want to ask questions and want to learn from him, instead of being that guy that's just there to, he does his job and then he goes home and, I'll work with him, but, I don't know if I can trust asking him questions, so, but that probably would have been the time where I would have said, maybe take it a little bit more serious and don't, like I said, don't be afraid of that failure in front of other people, and don't be afraid to ask questions, because that's the only way you're going to learn and you're going to improve yourself. So, and who knows how things could have changed from that. So, but can't do that right now. So, but
absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
but yeah, that was quite the deep question. So let's see if you can rise to that occasion as well.
I don't know if
now,
I can.
Our last thing for you is you have the opportunity to ask a question of your own for our next guest, who is David Schaefer Walker, founder of Jobtown Graphics. So we've gotten to do a lot with him from the shift, our shift logo, which we got on here, our podcast logo, all the, he's been a great asset for us. We're really excited to have him on. But floor is yours. What question would you like to ask of David?
Oh, you gotta warn me who was, give me some heads up.
There's no fun in that. Hey, the first episode of the year has the whole list. You could have figured.
I should have. Didn't do my due research, did I? Oh shit. Let me think.
I think he was a firefighter too.
He was a firefighter too.
Yeah.
Yep,
then he
that makes it a little easier.
dropped it. Then he went to a.
Yep.
He still is.
Part-time. Yeah, part-time still.
Okay, he's part-time then. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it might be a two-parter then, because I might have to try to identify. I guess maybe you sons of bitches put me on the spot. No, I guess my question for him was, I guess maybe one of the questions I could do for him is, kind of how he got started in his career, what pushed him to kind of do the graphic thing with fire departments, and what his overall goal was with that from the start. What was he looking to accomplish, and was this something that happened by accident, or was it something planned?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then if he is, you said he's a firefighter.
Yeah, I think, David, I apologize. I forgot to confirm if you're listening, but I think he's actually still full-time. He's full-time lieutenant. He's either full-time or part-time lieutenant, but he's been a couple of departments around New York. And he's been in it for quite a long time.
Okay.
On top of doing the graphics.
Well, firefighter-wise, I guess one of my questions, would be for company or senior firefighters nowadays, what are some ways that you can kind of relate to this newer generation that's coming up, the way that they respond to people, how they respond to different direction? So I guess how would you how do you get to that level where you can kind of help out these newer guys, and do you have to change, how are the tactics changed from years ago to now to kind of help when you're getting new hires and new probationary firefighters? So
absolutely,
if that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So
perfect. We got a twofer for him. It'll be great.
Yeah. One last question. This is coming from our local PD. Got asked
yesterday. That's right.
This comes from Joey. How do you feel being protected by your local PD?
Oh, I love it. No, you know what? You hear a lot of negative things with fire departments and police departments across the country, and how people don't get along with them. And I think our our situation in Beaver Dam is like a total 180.
Mhm.
You know, I think our PD and our fire department, we get along just great. I don't think we have had any issues with any of the PD officers that we work with. We love working with them. I mean, how many other places
Right.
they come up and have breakfast with us?
Joey asked this question during bags yesterday when
During
they
bags,
came over to play. It's like,
right. That's another thing. Like how many? You know, it's awesome. They come over. They play bags
they
with
came
us.
Came up for breakfast yesterday. Like our weekend tradition. We played bags with the night shift.
I have nothing but good things to say for our PD. You know, they're great. They're great. A bunch of guys and gals, and nothing but positive things to say about them. You know, you can always rely on them to, you know, come on the call, come help out. If we need help, they're always there. So, I
think know them as a personal level, like around the station, and it works awesome on a scene. We work awesome together, and that's the main thing.
Yep.
I mean, it's just another, you know.
Yeah, and it's fun. You know, you got the certain, you know, you got a bunch of them on there that love to just jump in and help out, and and it, you know, they'll listen to us, and they, you know, we got. I think just the respect between the two of our groups is, you know, at a really you know, high level compared to, you know, I'm sure a lot of other departments where, you know, you hear a lot of you know, animosity between other departments or across the country, you know, and it's just one of those things where a lot of places that's just the way it is. But you know, Beaver Dam, I think we're pretty unique where we have a very positive relationship amongst both of our organizations. So
absolutely
awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Cap, for coming on, spending the time the last hour with us. There's some knowledge. Yeah, you did great. Like I said, we wanted to give you the opportunity to share the knowledge we get every shift. So
yeah, it goes both ways. Hey, it goes both ways. Hey,
we appreciate you coming on. I'm excited to get that question out, get your episode out. And thank you very much for coming on and spending some time with us on your off day, even though you're, you know, not being paid to deal with us this time. So so that makes it a little easier.
Tomorrow? No, not tomorrow.
No, you don't work on shift too.
My
shift.
Jeez.
He takes 3 trades on the shift 2, and now he's shift 2.
You know how much that messes me up? I'm so messed up. I'm going to go to work tomorrow. Now I got another vacation day.
Woo! Well, thank you again for coming. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. And as always, don't be a shitbag.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Cap. Don't be a shitbag.